Late morning, almost early afternoon. Hi, everyone. How you doing? Hey, look, Jason's here. What's up, Jason? David's here. We've got some folks filing in as we get started. Jim is here. Hello, Jim. How you doing today? I hope everybody's doing good. This is an exciting day for me. This was the launch of episode 200 of the Play Guitar podcast. I'm doing a little celebrating today. Had a fun. I had a really good time recording that episode. And what we did was we took a look back at kind of by year how things have been going through for the podcast and what we were trying to do, and really just fun stuff. Looking back a little bit and talked about where we're moving forward, and we introduced the VIP section. So if you're new here to the Play Guitar Live is what this is, and you'd like to help us out, become a VIP member of the podcast and the live stream, the VIP backstage area, VIP private podcast as well. You can you can get in for only $3 a month. So it's super affordable and something that we're going to be building over time, especially right here. And you can get a link to that in the description, no matter if you're on Facebook or YouTube. Hey, Chris is here. Hi, Chris. How are you doing today? This one is going to be fun. We're doing favorite or best 90s guitar albums. Dean's here. Hi, Dean. How are you doing today? How's the weather all the way up there? Evan's here. Hi, Evan. Great to see you, Evan, new member of the VIP program. There's the VIP backstage area, VIP podcast, but VIP. So awesome. We're let's see here. Kevin's here. Hi, Kevin. How are you doing today? Coke's here. Video thumbs up. Yes, please thumbs up the video. We're going to try and build this a little bit more. It's a surprise. Surprise. Dean says wet and windy. Goodness gracious. Wet and windy. That's not fun. That's not fun at all. Okay. So the podcast that's out today, the VIP program, we have, let's see, Jason. We have a few VIPers in here right now. David and Jason. Let's see here. Dean and Evan. And let's see here. We have a few more coming in. I can't find everything. I'm going to go ahead and get, as I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and get the Throwdown set up here as we go. So I'm going to share a screen. The window. Let's do the Throwdown window right there. Let's see if it'll... Yay, it worked. Awesome. Okay, so the 90s, right? The 90s was a very, very interesting time for guitar. You had the late 80s kind of metal, what's considered hard rock now, but at the time was metal, coming, still hanging on in there. You had the grunge going through. You also had jam band music really starting to build. And it shows, I went through, about 5 or 6 different lists of 90s guitar albums. And some of the songs, if I may have missed, it was very, there's a lot to this and a lot of different styles. And let's see here. Let's see. Coke says wet and windy in Texas today. 2. Yeah, down for vacation. Yeah, I think there's some bad weather going all around. We were supposed to have some tomorrow here. Today's okay though. So hope everybody stays safe in there. Wet and windy is no fun. Evan says, I'm curious if Stone Temple Pilots' first album is on here. I don't know if I'd put that one on or not. There's a lot of albums here. I may have missed that one, but there's some here that could be replaced. So for next, we're going to do half of it today, and half of it next week, just like we've been doing. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what our first round is going to be. Let's make this bigger so everyone can see. Round one, we're going to have No More Tears, Ozzy, and then Southern Harmony from the Black Crowes. Round two is Avia Musicom, Eric Johnson, and then Californication. Then the Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, Passion Warfare, Steve Vai. We'll have Dookie, Green Day against Sky is Crying, which was a posthumous, however they say that, after he passed away, collection of songs, which was really big in the 90s. Nevermind, of course, Dirt, Allison Chains, the Nirvana Unplugged, Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, which was a serious guitar album, even if you don't like that kind of music. Very, very serious guitar album. The Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 against Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream, and then we've got Government Mule against Still Got the Blues, Gary Moore. So that's this week's. Next week is similar, all over the place. These albums are all over the place. There's a couple here that in round two that I could replace. So that's a great album. I played a lot of those songs in cover bands in the 90s. That was kind of my cover band time. David's here. David says, "Hey Lee and guys, been a while since I checked in. How's things? We are doing good. We're celebrating today, 200th. I'm celebrating not being able to talk today. 200th episode of the podcast today. A lot of fun for me, and I hope it was a lot of fun for some other folks too. And we're going through some 90s guitar albums. Let's see here. So we're going to get started. I'm going to do a fresh piece of paper here so I can keep track on everything. And we'll be checking in with old Luke from time to time. There he is right there. See what he thinks. It could either be a nah or a okay. So let's see. Let me get even. Let's do number one here. Is that how I want to do it? Oh, does this say this tournament hasn't started yet? Live. Start the tournament. There we go. There was a button I had to click. Here we go. Okay. So our first matchup for best guitar album of the 90s is going to be between No More Tears, which is Ozzy, Zakk Wylde, or Southern Harmony for the Black Crowes. I played songs in cover bands for, let's make this a little bit bigger. I played songs in cover bands off of both of these albums. So let's see here. We'll say No More Tears for Ozzy, and then I'll just say Ozzy and Black Crowes. So No More Tears, I think, let's see here. I think what we'll do is maybe I'll go down track listings as we go. So let's see here. No More Tears. We got Mr. Tinker Train, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Of course, that's the one that everybody has heard a lot. No More Tears, of course. Let's see, here's I Don't Want to Change. I Don't Want to Change the World. I remember that. And Time After Time too. So that was big radio hits for that style of music. Really interesting album too. Let's see here. And then Southern Harmony. I'm going to change this screen share to something different. So as I'm going through looking stuff up, you guys aren't going to have to. There we go. Okay, so now Southern Harmony. Let's see here. Song Sting Me, Thorn in My Pride, Play that one a ton. Sometimes Salvation's awesome song. Let's see, My Morning Song. Remedy was the big one. Bad Luck Blue Eyes. So Serious. This was I think this was their second album. The first one had was their breakthrough hits. But then this one came out and kind of made them a thing, So let's see here. Let's go to the chat and see what we've got here. So as we go in, David said, congratulations. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Jason said, this is my formative years. It's going to be nostalgic and difficult. It already is difficult for me. David's going with Ozzy with Tears. Chris said, great matchup, and he's going with Ozzy. Dean says, just want to say hi, busy work day. Congrats on to, I don't know why I can't speak today. It's because I was up late getting all this stuff done in the hat. Okay. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Let's see. Jason, we got No More Tears. Evan's going Ozzy. Love that Black Crowes album, but I think Zach did more important guitar work. Okay. So we got 4 for Ozzy, 5 for Ozzy. With Coke, No More Tears. Jim's going with No More Tears too. Okay. David says there were some great 90s guitar albums, Vai and Satch. We have one for both Vai and Satch. We don't have the Yngwies in there or the Jason Becker, but we have I tried to really, there's a couple there's a couple bands where I could have picked 5 or 6 albums, but I tried to remember the ones that had the most impact at the time, and then the ones that lasted longer. We'll see how it goes. Jason's saying, Shake Your Moneymaker would have taken for me. Yeah, that one had the big hits. Well, let's see here. This one was the one that I kept seeing higher on the list than different people's. Evan says, Remedy still gets my butt shake. Yeah. Awesome. No More Tears, Zach Wild says. And Kevin says, Ozzy too. Okay, so Ozzy's going to take this one. Zach Wild, we're talking about guitar albums, takes this one. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next matchup. This is round 2, and this is Eric Johnson against the Chili Peppers. Okay, Via Musicom. Now, I think it came out in like 90 or 91. I always thought it was an 80s thing, but it wasn't. It came out in 90, right at the beginning of the 90s. So the Via Musicom had Cliffs of Dover in it. That's the one that most people are going to know. But their Trademark, Highlander, all of these instrumental songs on this album, people who listen to the radio in the 90s would be familiar with a lot of the songs on this album, because I just read David's comment. Crack me up. I like this. Kevin says, Ozzy. So a lot of when you hear like the DJs talking in between the records, they play a lot of Eric Johnson's stuff as background music. So his songs, while that album, while not, there's really just one big song from it, all of those songs became familiar to a lot of people. Chili Peppers, on the other hand, Californication. Let's see what's on that album. So Scar Tissue was big. I've taught that song a million times. Let's see, Around the World, Let's Build a Club, Road Trip Around Time, and Californication are the two big ones from that one. But that style of guitar, kind of like clean to like almost fuzz and back and forth, and like a punk type vibe to it, but with like a Hendrix type feel of the guitar, was very, very big in the 90s. So both of those albums, very different, but very big in the 90s. So let's see here. David says, well, we can cut to the end then, Vi versus Satriani, because I don't know. I don't know, man. For 90s, I don't know. David's going Chili Peppers. So it's Chili Peppers against Eric Johnson on this one. All right. So let's see. David says Chili Peppers. Evan says, I don't know that EJ record, but that's what I'm voting for. If it had been Blood Sugar Sex Magic, I would have voted for that. I think that's the other album. I think there's two of theirs in this. I would have voted for that one of the best of the 90s. Yeah, so that's in there too. Evan's going for Eric Johnson. Chris is going for Californication. Rob says, Sup, Rob. What's up? Let's see here. Kevin says, agree, Evan. So that means Kevin's going for Eric Johnson for this one. Okay. And Jim's going for Chili Peppers. So is Jason. And Evan says, Vi and Satch aren't locks for me. They're locks for me in like 80s stuff. We've been listening to a lot because I guess because David Lee Roth got health problems and, he's going to be quitting. So we've been listening to a lot of Van Halen, and then we've been listening to the Eat 'Em and Smile album with Billy Sheehan on bass and Greg Bissonette on the drums and Steve Vai. And I got to see that tour. And that album actually, everybody thought it was going to be a mess, and it was actually a really, really, really good album. My favorite of all of the David Lee Roth albums. So, Coke's going Eric Johnson. Okay. So at this point, up till Coke, we're 4 for Chili Peppers and 3 for Eric Johnson. Let's see here. Let me make sure I didn't mess up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. I may have missed one. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go Eric Johnson. So we got Evan for Eric Johnson, Kevin for Eric Johnson, and Coke for Eric Johnson. Yeah, so we're going to give it to Chili Peppers on this one. They came out on 4-3. Very close. And we'll move on to our next throwdown, and that is Oasis. This is random. Actually, I clicked the button to randomize these. So the Oasis album, What's the Story, Morning Glory, versus Passion and Warfare, Steve Vai. Wow. What do you... That's it. So let's see here. Let's do Passion and Warfare. Let's see here. Let's see what's on the back. So Liberty, For the Love of God, the audience is listening. So I think this is the one for Steve Vai that Blue Powder was on there, which is a really, really famous one of his songs that was released in Guitar Player magazine as one of those flexible 45s. Originally, then he put it on. Then he put it on this. Was it Audiences Listening, Greasy Kid stuff? It's a very strange album. Does a lot of that talking guitar stuff in this too that he also did with David Lee Roth. So, and then what's the story? Morning Glory, and that's the Oasis album. I think I know 2 songs from this one. So we got Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova. Those are the 2 that I'm familiar with. And so that's kind of like the shoegazer style of guitar that was very popular then. And then we still have Steve Vai who's continuing on his trip there. So we're going to say Vai against Oasis. And let's go back here. Evan says, for both? I don't know. So we got Rob from NZ with Vi. Evan says, Jason says, so anyway, here's Wonderwall. Got the love of God Vi. So we got 2 for Vi. Evan says, need to run for work call. Hopefully it won't last too long. We'll be here. Kevin says, Vi, that's my favorite Vi album. So we got 3 for Vi. So yeah, this one's a different one. 2 totally different styles of music, both guitar styles. I don't know if they actually did any guitar solos on the Oasis. I don't think maybe they did. I'm not sure. And the Steve Vai's was all guitar solos, so completely different. Right now we've got 3 for Vi, 0 for Oasis. David says, Vi, I think you knew I'd say that. Yes, I did. And I'm thinking about a gem. I've got the David Gilmour Strat project that I'm working on, and then after that, I want something with a Floyd Rose on it. And I'm looking at a lot of different things. I've been looking at Kramer's. I actually looked at a Flying V Kramer with the Floyd on it. I've been looking at the Vise. I've been looking at for the gems, even the cheapest one, which is what the Gem Junior, which I think is like $500 or something like that. I think I don't think that's a real Floyd Rose. I think it's an Edge or whatever they call that. But I thought about you. I thought about David. If you were going to get a gem as a player guitar, not one that's like, super overpriced. One that's like a mid. I know the gems, they start at 500 and go on up. I was wondering what you would think about that. Jim's in here. He says Vi. Okay. And Chris is going to go Oasis. Just because I wasn't listening to Vi then, and because of how many it made to try and learn the guitar, probably a different vibe over here to there. And honestly, if you talk about I played in cover bands in the 90s a lot. I played Oasis. I barely played Vi type stuff for a crowd. But we played a ton of we played those 2 songs a lot. So as far as that, in my experience, but as far as me at home, just like learning, I would learn licks from the Vice of Blue Powder. I had actually learned, I think, in the 80s. So yeah, so I think they are completely different. This is kind of not a. This is a difficult matchup, but as far as influencing guitar players, they both did a lot in the 90s. Steve Vai still does up to date. Oasis at the time influenced a ton of guitar players. So it just depends. That the question is best guitar album, and what's your criteria for best? Does the album influence you, or is it the guitar playing on the album? Let's see. Coke says Oasis for kind of the same reasons as Chris. So we got 2 for Oasis. David says the cheaper trims can sometimes not hold their tuning quite as well. Yeah, I used to. Nobody uses these now, but I used to have a Carvin that had was it Kaler? A Kaler tremolo on it, which was like rollers actually on the bridge. So it sat on top of, it had a locking nut. It was very similar to a Floyd Rose. It stayed in tune really well. And it didn't have the knife edge problems and some people even say Floyd Roses wear out pretty fast. But he says the cheaper trims can sometimes not hold their tuning quite as well. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm thinking, $500 for a gem, probably they're cutting some corners there. David says my next guitar may be a gem or Satriani signature. Me too. Me too. David says, but it's a big jump in price from the junior to the standard full price one. Maybe look for pre-owned. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. Yeah, but I've also been looking at Kramer's, Jackson's, those kind of things. So let's see here. We've got Vi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 for Oasis. So we're going to give that to Vi here. There we go. Okay. Jason says those Jim Root Charvels looked sweet. Yeah. There's a good selection of those kind of 80s type guitars and a lot of different styles too right now. Much more than in the past 10 years. I guess the 80s is kind of becoming a little bit popular lately. Rob says Kramer's are good. I've owned a few. 90s Jacksons as well are pretty good if you can find them. Very similar to ESP M2. Yeah. I just a lot of the Kramers have the humbucker, the bridge humbucker angled, which I don't really want. So I'm still looking. It's going to take me a while. I'm still looking. Okay, our next matchup. Kind of similar to the last one for me. So we have Dookie, Green Day album, and Sky's Crying, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now, everybody knows the Green Day album. Everybody, I played stuff off of that album a lot. And I actually played the song Sky is Crying in those same shows a lot. Sky's Crying came out after Stevie Ray Vaughan passed away, but there's Little Wing. His version of Little Wing was not out until after he passed away, which was this. Jimmy Vaughan put this album out, Sky's Crying. Very, very interesting album. Has the Life by the Drop, which is the 12-string acoustic song that you hear Stevie play all the time. So a lot of the songs that off of this, let's see all of them. Let's see. Sky's Crying, SRV. Let's see the track list. Where's the track list? That's not the track list. Let's go to Wikipedia. They'll give us track. So Boot Hill, okay. Sky's Crying, fantastic. Empty Arms, it's great. Little Wings, fantastic. Wham, we talked about Lonnie Mack the other day. It's great. May I Have a Talk with You is kind of old blues thing, close to you, same way. Chitlins Concarne is the Kenny Burrell, like a jazz instrumental. So Excited, and Life by the Drop, which is what we just talked about on 12 string. So really, really cool stuff. Let's see here. And for the Green Day, Longview, Basket Case. What else? When I Come Around. Big hits on this one. Let's see here. So let me go ahead. We got some coming in here. So we have SRV against Green Day on this one. Okay, so David's in first with Stevie Ray Vaughan. So Jim's in with the same right there. Rob says a classic album, Great Beer with Mates album. Yes, it is. So that's 3 there. Chris says Dookie for me. Sorry, Lee. No, you don't have to apologize for that. I played songs off of both of these albums. And so maybe if I was to sit down, I probably wouldn't pick the Green Day album to go and just listen to. I would probably go for the Stevie Ray Vaughan to listen to. But I've played both. I've played the guitar parts for both. Very different styles, but both were very important. And I see, either way that this went, I would agree with, Jason says, this is harder than it should be. These define me as a musician, as weird as that sounds. Yeah, these are formational albums, right? Let's see here. Kevin says Stevie Ray Vaughan. So we got 4 for Stevie Ray Vaughan, 1 for Green Day. Joshua says Allison Chains, Jerry Cantrell. That's coming up. Let's see here. The Allison Chains album. Yeah, that's coming up in our next one. So Allison Chains is in this, definitely. So we'll talk about Allison Chains in the next in matchup number 5. Okay, so Coke says Green Day. I feel dirty. I feel dirty. Okay, let's see here. David came in before that. David Sparrow. SRV for me too. Okay, so it's looking like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Stevie Ray Vaughan and 2 for Green Day. Joshua Ace just jumping in, so I don't know the question, but I know I don't like Green Day. SRV. Okay, cool. Yeah, what we're doing. This is our hangout for the week on Wednesdays, and we do throwdowns with this. And this is just tournament for the best guitar albums of the 90s, and whatever that means to you. You can think about it. Well, is the guitar playing on the album the best, or was it influential to you? I'm not going to define exactly what would make it best for you for that, but whatever you feel. A lot of these, I think Jason said, he said earlier, this is harder than it should be. These define me as a musician, as weird as that sound. So for me, the 90s, in 1990, I was 20 and then 21. So I was playing in bars throughout the 90s, playing a lot of bars and playing a lot of covers. Now, towards the end of the 90s, I was doing original music, but the beginning of it, I was playing all sorts of stuff. I was playing metal stuff. I was playing blues stuff. I was playing popular music, and a lot of these were popular at the time, but they influenced my guitar playing as well. So, see, Joshua says, cool. Okay, cool. Right. So we're going to go ahead and give this one to Stevie Ray Vaughan there, and we're going to move on to our next throwdown, next matchup. This is matchup number 5, and our first day of this, we have, now this is interesting. Nevermind, Nirvana versus Dirt by Allison Chains. Let's talk about this. Talk about Allison Chains and Nirvana and what they did, not just to guitar-based music, but for guitar-based music. So I've told this story a couple times. I don't know if I've told it here on YouTube, but I remember the day that I first heard Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'd never even heard of Nirvana before. And I was in a club called Hammerjacks. This was in Baltimore. And Hammerjacks was a metal, which was not really metal now, hard rock, like a long-haired hard rock club, big club. And I would go there. I'd see Kix. I'd see Dream Theater. They'd get great bands that would come in there. And I wouldn't go there. I didn't play there. I just would go there to watch bands. It was probably like 45 minutes away from my house. So, and so you're in there and you see all the spandex and the mall stuff, with the wristbands with the spikes on them and leather jackets and all that kind of stuff. And they're playing, who knows what they're playing, Poison and all sorts of stuff like that. You're just walking around there, and all of a sudden this song came on in between the bands, and it was somebody played it, right, and it played, and the whole place kind of stopped. And for me, I could feel the end of the hair metal sensation at that moment. And I was in the middle of it, right? I'm a guitar player. I had long hair, but I wasn't like into the fashion of all that stuff, and which the hair metal stuff a lot to do with fashion and belonging and those things. And so I've been hearing, as they're in between bands, I'm hearing all these songs that you have become used to from the 80s playing. Then they played this song. They played Smells Like Teen Spirit. And everybody's like, you can see that the first thing that happened is it grabbed everyone's attention. And they thought, this is cool. And then as it went on, they realized that this is not good for what they were invested in, you know? So it was a game changer, and I remember the moment that it happened. And then this kind of back and forth between like the established heavy metal stuff and then the new grunge stuff was coming out, right? And people were picking sides. Like it's music, but they're picking sides, right? So then a little while later, Allison Chains comes out. And I started hearing that. And that was, I think, for guitar players, that was more important. That the Allison Chains was it was rock. You know what I mean? It was rock. It had the trappings of the grunge type stuff, but it was kind of where people could go, okay, I can really sink my teeth into this. And I did. I was much more of an Allison Chains fan than I was a Nirvana fan. I played songs from both of them, right? But Jerry Cantrell's guitar playing, I think, is fantastic. To this day, I think it's fantastic. And so when I don't remember, I remember the moment I heard Nirvana first. I don't remember when I first heard Allison Chains, but as I heard more and more of it, I could relate to that more. Okay, so let's this is a fun one. This is Nirvana versus AIC. Now, as a guitar teacher, I taught a lot more Nirvana than I taught Allison Chains. So obviously my opinion is probably not the most popular opinion, but that's how it is. So let's Kevin says this one's tough. Jim's going Nevermind. Okay, so we got one for Nevermind. Joshua's going Allison Chains, so we're 1-1. Coast going Nirvana, so we're 2-1. There's Rob from New Zealand. Allison Chains. I didn't mind Nirvana, but it got sick of it after it was just played everywhere. Okay, so we have another Allison Chains. Allison Chains for 3. David's going for Allison Chains, therefore. Chris is going Nirvana. David says, we can all remember when we had, mine's long gone. Long gone. That's okay. Joshua says, preach, Chains. Okay, so we got Chains there. Allison Chains, both great out. So Allison Chains in our group have taken this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 3 for Nirvana. So I'm going to go ahead and give this to Allison Chains. But honestly, it could have gone either way. Okay, so let's move on here to round 6. Now this is the other big 90s. You know, all of the Nirvana albums was in utero. All of the Nirvana albums were big, but the biggest two was the Unplugged album, and then Nevermind, right? And then now here's a matchup, right? Cowboys from Hell, Pantera against Unplugged in New York, Nirvana. Both very influential guitar albums. Very, very. I think Unplugged, cause I had more girl students with stickers on their acoustic guitars wanting to play the songs from the way that the Nirvana Unplugged album was than anything. Right? That was it was MTV, it was on there, you could buy the album, it was everywhere, right? Cowboys from Hell. So Dimebag Darrell took if you were heavy metal person in the 90s, you couldn't get away from Pantera. It was everywhere. It was fantastic. I've learned a lot of that album. It's fantastic. So, was it Cemetery? Let's see here. Let's do let me look at the track list here. So you have the title track, Cowboys from Hell. Cemetery Gates was my favorite guitar part on that. Yeah, those were my two favorites from that album. But you know, you go to a party and it would just play constantly, all the time. And that sound of the solid state amp, you know, which was not a compressed sound, but it was always in your face. It was, you know, it wasn't like they actually tried to compress the sound. I think it was because of the amps that he used, which was fantastic. It was a fantastic tone. And the playing was awesome too. So let's see here. Where did we end up? Rob says must be one of the 90s anthems. Okay, we may have been talking about this stuff before. So Kevin comes in, says Pantera. So Pantera versus Nirvana. So Kevin's got Pantera. Chris says Nirvana, but I'm going to spin that Pantera album soon. Okay, so let's see here. So we're still 1-1. David's Cowboys from Hell. Rob says Pantera. Domination solo destroyed everything. Coke says, oh geez, Cowboys from Hell guitar slaughtered everything in the 90s. Dimebag. Okay, so I'm guessing we're going Pantera for that. Joshua Ace giving up to the Unplugged album. Just like you. Yeah, I hear you. Let's see here. David says Pantera. Joshua said didn't really listen to Dimebag. Yeah, it was different. It was metal before Pantera to me wasn't brutal. It was you hear kind of classical leads over top of it. It wasn't brutal. And then you had harder edge like Anthrax, right? And Anthrax had this kind of like rap and a tiny bit into that. And Anthrax had a little bit of it was funkier. It wasn't brutal. And to me, Metallica, Megadeth, and all those things, they have wonderful melodies to those. I don't consider Metallica. I consider Metallica speed, you know, but not brutal. And Pantera was brutal, you know. So you know, that's my 2 cents. So Jim said Unplugged. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. So Chris was Unplugged. Josh was Unplugged. Jim's Unplugged. So we got 3 for Unplugged. Jason's Unplugged. So we got 4 for Unplugged. Dave says, remember the vulgar videos, Pantera. I think at that point I stopped watching. I don't remember their videos very much. I was playing all the time. So I kind of, as the 90s went on, I guess I was watching videos in the early 90s, but as they went on, I was just playing guitar all the time. I was listening to music, but I wasn't watching as much. So I don't remember their videos as much. So far, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pantera and 4 for the Unplugged album. So I think it's been enough time. So I will give it to Pantera, but I can change it if more comes in. Okay. we have 2 more matchups for round 1. So this one's going to be fun. This one's fun. So we've got the 2. I put both of them because I just consider them all one big, huge album. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 from Guns N' Roses. The back, Guns N' Roses are back kind of thing. And Siamese Dream, Smashing Pumpkins. If I go by what I played a lot, being in cover bands in the 90s, I played Smashing Pumpkins a lot more than anything that was on the Guns N' Roses stuff. But the Guns N' Roses, the Use Your Illusion, I can't speak today. I think it's this. I think I'm thirsty. Here, talk to old Luke for a second while I'm... Okay. So that was Guns N' Roses becoming epic, right? Both of those, that was epic. It was taking the hardcoreness of Guns N' Roses and expanding it. That's what those were for me. Siamese Dream was just a good album. It was just a good... And I'm not really the biggest Smashing Pumpkins fan, but I played a lot of that. I taught a lot of that. It was just a good guitar album. But the guitar work Slash did. Let's see. Use. Don't Cry. This is the first one. Live and Let Die. Those solos that Slash did on those songs are amazing. It's just a whole different thing. You know, let's go to 2. Let's see what's on 2. I don't remember what was on 2. 2 was Civil War, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Don't Cry. And it's like some of the same. I don't remember. Oh no, they're mixing them all up here. Anyway, to me, it was Guns N' Roses at its biggest. Okay, so let's see here. We've got GNR. Versus Smashing Pumpkins. Let's see who came in first. Rob said, from the last one, said, I love that they brought Stanky Groove into metal. It was a matter of time. Yeah, it was different. It was talking about Pantera. It was very different, right? So Jason's in first with this one. He's going Smashing Pumpkins for that one. Guns N' Roses. Holy Slash in front of a church, though. Yeah, Guns N' Roses. Okay. Chris says both the Pumpkins and Guns N' Roses albums up there for me, but gotta be the Guns N' Roses stuff. Love those albums massively still. Don't listen to Siamese Dream as much. And you know what? I think the same thing. Like if I wouldn't think to put in Smashing Pumpkins. I wouldn't. I would, if I was going to be interested in something, I'd probably be in those two big albums. There's probably a lot of stuff in there. I would go listen to those kind of like I would go listen to like the White Album or a Beatles with a lot of a big collection of songs. See the different stuff in there. That is what would get my So Chris is going for Guns N' Roses. Kevin says saw Guns N' Roses on that tour with Metallica and Faith No More. Did you already vote? I'm guessing Kevin's going Guns N' Roses. So I'll put him down. Rob says, tough one. My stoner mates like the Pumpkins and my muso mates like Guns N' Roses. I wasn't really into either, but I'll go Guns because of the Terminator song. Okay. All right. Josh is out. We'll see you soon, man. Thanks for popping in. Coke says Guns N' Roses. So does David. So does Jim. And Jason says, I played You Could Be Mine in marching band. Yeah, I was a band geek too. I played bass drum in marching band for a while, and here's the reason. So our band in my high school was serious business. We travel. We would go to Canada. We would play all over the United States on these trips, right? And I play guitar in the jazz ensemble, right? Jazz band. And so I would go on these trips, and the jazz band played for 20 minutes once. And so I'd be there for like 3 days doing nothing, just getting in trouble. So they kindly asked me to join the marching band, and they needed, because I'm tall, I'm right at 6'3", the bottom bass drum, which is probably the reason I have such a problem with my back now. But it was fun. I would play bass drum in marching band, and I'd walk around, and I could have that big bass drum. I could take out clarinet players anytime I wanted to. I'm traveling. We did that thing with the line of bass drum players where we would throw mallets back and forth. It was fun. Not what I want to do. I wanted to play guitar, but they were making me earn my trips there. So David says pumpkins maybe just edge it for me. Could depend on what mood I'm in. Tomorrow I may have. Yeah, this is one of those things. That way, Kevin says got to go with Guns N' Roses. Yeah, I put you down for that. Today is the greatest day I've ever known. That's correct. Jason played snare. Cool. Steve. Hey, Steve. Don't like either of them. So you can pick who has the few. Smashing Pumpkins has the fewest votes. So, okay. Good to see you, Steve. So Guns N' Roses took that one handily. All right. And we have one left for today in round one. We will go down round 2 and 3. We still have a little time for that. But the last one in round one that we're going to go through in this first half is Government Mule. The first album, the Government Mule album, versus Still Got the Blues, Gary Moore. How about that? Government Mule versus Still Got the Blues, Gary Moore. So Government Mule is interesting. It's Warren Haynes, Allman Brothers, right? He played with other people. I think he did songwriting with Garth. He was doing country stuff, whatever. Got the job with Allman Brothers, kind of that brought Warren Haynes to the guitar player's attention, right? And was playing that Southern rock stuff. And then went into this first album, Government Mule, which is considered a jam band album. But if you listen to it, not a jam band album at all. More Black Sabbath to me, and like Bad Company. If you took Bad Company and Black Sabbath, mixed them together, that's to me the first Government Mule album. I liked it a lot. I went and saw them. I bought that album. I said, I've got to see this band. Went and saw them. On the other side of this, Still Got the Blues is Gary Moore. And that song, the melody for that song, the chords from that song, so different. It's a blues song, but it's not a blues progression. It's got a melody, and it's a compressed, it's a Boss DS1 or 2, one of the two, that he used in front of a Marshall. He used a Marshall, right, to get that. So he's using a Marshall. He's got tones that are like, Steve I, Joe Satriani tones. He's got a chord progression that's like a jazz chord progression, and it's got a wonderful melody on it. So it's a wonderful song. People say, oh, I love Still Got the Blues, Gary Moore. I love it. And to me, that song's like left field. It makes no sense at all. And it's wonderful. I love playing that song. I could play that song right now. Love playing that song. So that's my take on both of these. Let's Government Mule versus Gary Moore. Both GMs here. Let's see what we got. Cooper, hey Cooper, says Rage. Yeah, they're coming up. In our second half of this, what Rage do we have in here? I think it was the Rage Against Machine. Is there another one? No, I think that's the one. Just that album. But there could have been 2 or 3 Rage albums that we could have put on here. Okay, so let's see here. So Jason's going for Gary Moore. Rob is too. Cooper is saying the AC/DC Thunderstruck Money Talks album. That's a great album. It is. Money Talk. Yep. Let's see. Jim says Gary Moore. Steve's going for Government Mule. David's going for Gary Moore. Coke's going for GM. Which one? Let's see. David's going for Gary Moore. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gary Moore. 1. Government Mule. And then we have Coke, which is being intentionally vague on this one. GM could go either way. Looking like it's Gary Moore for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and give him that. And that is the end of round 1. Oh, Coke says Gary. Okay. Cool. All right. So now we're going to hit round 2. We've got 4 matches in round 2. We're going to try and get through all of these today for our takeoff. Okay. So our first match of round 2, we have No More Tears, Ozzy versus Californication, Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's a tough one. So Ozzy versus Red Hot Chili Peppers. Let's see what we got here. So, No More Tears. Zakk Wylde. To me, Zakk Wylde, sheer talent, can take what you would think would be a dated band, right? Or a dated sound, the Ozzy sound. And just because of how talented he is, it doesn't matter. You can listen to that album today when it came out 5 years ago, and it's a fantastic album. Same thing with Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication. Use timeless things. Use funk, right? Punk rock, funk, mixture of those two. Use that Hendrixy style Strat sound, fuzzed out, and this brutal Strat sound with like a DS2, I think, and that mid boost in the DS2 really helps Strats for that. But let's see here. Chris is saying Ozzy. So is Rob. Steve's going Ozzy. So is Jim. Ozzy's taking this. So is David. And David. The 2 Davids have spoken. They have spoken. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for Ozzy. We're going to go ahead and Jason says No More Tears, sponsored by Johnson Baby Shampoo. Okay. All right. So Ozzy's taken the first in round 2. Let's move on to our second group in round 2. And this is Steve Vai versus Stevie Ray Vaughan. Okay. Steve Vai versus Stevie Ray Vaughan. I just saw, let's see here. Coke says, yeah, Ozzy, right? And Steve says, lost my mule. Yeah. Yep. But very important guitar album to me. Okay, so we've got Steve Vai, Passion Warfare versus Skies Crying, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Steve Vai. SV versus SRV. Jason's in with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Rob's thinking. Jim is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie Ray Vaughan. So is Coke. So far, Stevie Ray Vaughan's got 4. We have none for Steve Vai, and Rob is thinking. He said, Damn. Now this is hard. Okay. So David comes in for Vi. All right. And David Reed comes in for Vi. Okay, so we got 2 for Vi now. The Davids have they've come together for this across an ocean and collectively made the decision for Steve Vai. Rob he's got a decision. Vi, I mean Blue. Okay. All right. So we've got 4 for Stevie Ray Vaughan, 3 for Steve Vai. We're going to wait a few minutes. This one's close. Wait a few minutes, see if anyone else is coming in. I'll make sure I didn't mess up. That's why I have the piece of paper, so I don't mess up. And hey, I'm looking at there's a lot of folks that are just listening in, may not be participating. That's cool. You can do that anytime. We're here every Wednesday. Just please like the video, which is going to help us bring more folks in here. And we also have our new, if you like to support the stream, head on over to the VIP section. You can support the stream for $3 a month. Okay, let's see here. David says, go Team David. Right. Chris says Vi. So we're 4-4. We're even up. Let's see, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So we've got, I may be breaking the tie for this one, which I hate to do. But for this one, if I have to break the tie, as far as groundbreaking, some of the things on The Sky is Crying for Stevie Ray Vaughan, for me, were Little Wing for that. Passion Warfare is a great album, though. But I think for best guitar album of the 90s, Sky is Crying probably get it for me if I had to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Nope. Oh, Rob comes in. Rob says the Davids will get you. That's right. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to take I don't see any more coming in. I'm going to give this one to Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's just how I feel today. Apologies to the 2 Davids. And as Rob says, they might try and get me. So, okay, so let's move on to round 3 of our matchup 3 of round 2. And this is going to be Allison Chains' Dirt album versus Cowboys from Hell, Pantera. What do you think? I know what I think. I know what I think. What do you think, Luke? Okay, what do we got? David says Double D should count for more. Well, maybe. Rob on guitar. Ooh, man. Yeah. This one's gonna be, this one takes some thinking. Definitely takes some thinking. So Jason's gonna go, we're gonna say Allison Chains versus Pantera. Jason's going for Allison Chains. AIC. Steve says Redemption. Hey. Oh, is that from the SRB one, right? Chris goes for Allison Chains. David's going for Allison Chains. David Reed's going for Pantera. Steve's for Allison Chains. So is Jim is for Allison Chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Allison Chains and 1 for Pantera. Well, got two other votes that are coming in a few minutes. We'll wait for that. My initial thought was Allison Chains. I think that they reached a lot more people, but for metal guitar players and heavy guitar players, Pantera had a lot more influence. The playing on the Pantera album may technically be better playing, but Allison Chains, I don't know. David says this is tough. It's like picking your favorite kid. Coast going Pantera. And so's Rob. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Allison Chains, and 3 Pantera. That's about how we got about 8 people playing now. So that one's going to go for Allison Chains. And here's our last matchup for the second round. We're flying through round 2. First round took forever. Here we go. So this round we've got Guns N' Roses, the two Use Your Illusion, I said it right that time, albums versus Gary Moore, Still Got the Blues. What's another Gary Moore song other than Still Got the Blues? Let's see here. Now Gary was Irish, right? And who did he play with? He played in let's see here. What was the band he played in before? Was it Tin Lizzy? Oh, it was Tin Lizzy. But he also did solo stuff in the 70s. He started solo stuff very early on. In My Dreams, he did a cover of Throwdown. Right. Okay. Yeah. So his kind of came from another band. So let's see here. Jason is going from Guns N' Roses and Gary Moore. Guns N' Roses, Jason's in on that one. So is Chris. So is David S. Steve hates Guns N' Roses, loves Gary Moore. So I'm guessing from that, I'm going to infer we're going with Gary Moore on that one. Let's see. Jim's Guns N' Roses. Rob says Gary has an amazing amount of albums from Tin Lizzy to solo stuff. Okay, so I'm going to say Rob is going Gary Moore. He did. Let's see. David was Guns N' Roses. I already put Rob's down, and Coast going Gary Moore. So this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Guns N' Roses took this one. Okay, and so there is round 2. We're going to head into round 3. We're narrowing this down a little bit more. I'm learning a lot about our group and the styles of music that we like, and where we all kind of think the same, and then where everybody splits off. This is really interesting. So our first matchup, in round 3 is No More Tears versus Sky is Crying. So Ozzy versus Stevie Ray Vaughan for best 90s guitar album. This one's tough. Jason says, "Thank you all for defining my teens." Yes. This was my 20s. And I've made it. I survived my 20s. I don't know how I did it, but I made it. I remember a lot of it too. So let's see here. Okay, Steve's in first with Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then Rob comes in. Sorry, Stevie Ray Vaughan, but Ozzy got them party memories. Ozzy for me. That's right. Let's see here. David, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Let's see here. Ozzy for David Reed. Chris is going Ozzy. So we've got 3 for Ozzy, 2 for Stevie Ray Vaughan. We're up to Chris right now. So we got 3 more to come in for all the players who are playing today. Jim's going Ozzy. And we'll wait just a second. We're waiting on. I think Jason, SRV is Life by the Drop. So I'm going to say Jason's going Stevie Ray Vaughan. I think we're waiting on Coke. And okay. Coke won Ozzy or Izzy. And Steve says, I'm probably the oldest in the group, so my taste is a little different. I don't know. I don't know if you're the oldest in the group, Steve. We have a very big range of contestants today, participants today. So let's see here. So that one, Ozzy took this one. And I thought, and if you think about it, best guitar albums of the 90s, I can see the argument for the Ozzy. The Stevie Ray Vaughan, most of that stuff was probably recorded in the 80s. But to me, the Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff was much more influential in the 90s for that. But I can this one I can see going either way. All right. So now the end of round 3, we have Allison Chains, Dirt versus Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. So we have, and I know Steve's going to go Allison Chains. I got that. I know it. I know that one. Okay, so Guns N' Roses versus Allison Chains, AIC. And Chris is in first with Guns. Saw both of them playing in the 90s. Saw Guns N' Roses. It might have been the late 80s for Guns N' Roses. I saw them open for Aerosmith on their first tour, which was a mess. It was a fun mess, but it was a mess. And then I saw Allison Chains, which was an interesting show, open for Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. So in Philadelphia. So it was not a pretty sight. So Lane Staley came out, and I think he was wearing a Capitals or some, he was wearing some sort of hockey thing, and came out and just started. He was FUBAR and just started going off on the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers. So he's got a whole place full of people who are there to see Van Hagar, not really their crowd, and he's insulting them before they even start playing. And the band, Allison Chains, the rest of the band is standing there while they're getting booed. They hadn't played anything, right? So at some point they just start playing, and they play the song, and the first song is over, and then Lane Staley goes back in insulting the audience again, right? And they do the same thing. So throughout the songs, he's just insulting them. So finally, at the end, right beforehand, I think either the bass player or the guitar player went out and put a Flyers jersey. They have Flyers jerseys back there. Came out there, and the whole band came out and just like tackled him and took him off the stage. And that was the only applause they got for it. But when they were playing, they were fantastic. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so let's see here. Chris was Guns N' Roses. David was Allison Chains. Steve's Allison Chains. Jim's Guns N' Roses. Rob's Allison Chains. Not only great guitars, but haunting vocals. And David's is Guns N' Roses. So we're 3-3 right now. We'll wait a minute, too, for this one. So we have Chris, David, Steve, Jim, and Rob. Both Davids are in. Jim and Rob are in. So we're waiting on Jason and Coke. Jason's going Allison Chains. Let's see here. Is Jim? Yeah, Jim was already in. And Rob's. I never got to see them live. One of the drawbacks of living over here. Yeah, you know what? It's even living here. It depends on where you are. You know, when I lived in the Philadelphia, Delaware, that area, I saw everything, and I had multiple. I could drive an hour in different directions. I'd see everything that came in. When I moved to Georgia, I would go to Atlanta to see everything. Went to see Atlanta. Macon would have some really cool shows, but they didn't get everybody coming through. Steve knows this. Steve is always traveling to see some stuff. Okay. All right. So that one looks like Allison Chains took that one. How about that? It's 4-3. Allison Chains. If I did it correctly. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So looks like Allison Chains took that one. And that's going to bring up our finals. For those of you who have made it this far, for our first day, our first half of this 90s album, we've got No More Tears, Ozzy versus Allison Chains, Dirt. I think I know where I'm going with this one. If I have to break the tie, I've got it figured out already. So let's see what we got here. Jason's in first. Let me make a new. This is for all the marbles here. This is Ozzy. It's really Zakk Wylde. Ozzy versus AIC, Jerry Cantrell. So Jason's in first with Ozzy, No More Tears. That's kind of where I would go for that too. That sound that Zakk Wylde's playing, the EMGs, those artificial harmonics, just the power of it to me is pretty influential. It's very listenable. Jim's going Ozzy. Rob has said sheesh. So we're waiting on that. David's going Allison Chains. The Davids are split on this one. They're split by an ocean, and they're split between Ozzy and Allison Chains. So let's see. We had Ozzy, Dirt, Ozzy. So we have 3 Ozzies here. Steve says, saw Guns N' Roses way back on Sunset in Hollywood before they got a record deal. Didn't like them. Yeah, a lot of people early on didn't like them. They had a hard time keeping tempo. That's what I remembered. They'd start a song and it would start off like too fast. And then in the middle of the song, they'd realize they were too fast and they'd try to slow down. And by the end of the song, they were like too fast again. And this is what I remember. Every single song was like that. So Steve's going Allison Chains. There. So we've got, so far we've got 3 for Ozzy, 2 for Allison Chains. We'll give it a moment. Just a moment here. It's looking, but this is pretty close. It could go either way. So we're waiting on, let's see here. We've had Steve and 2 Davids, Jim and Jason. So Rob's thinking. Coke we're waiting on. Okay, Rob's going Allison Chains. Okay, so we tied up. Chris is going Ozzy, Zakk Wylde. Very nice. Very nice. So we're 4-3 at this moment. Ozzy, Zakk Wylde versus Jerry Cantrell. We'll just wait a minute here. I'm going to wait for, let's see. I'm just looking through here. I think Coke may be busy right now. So we'll give it a second. Right now it's looking Ozzy is taking it. Rob's simply did the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Came up with it. Yeah, it's a tough one. Especially if you're like a 90s hard rock fan. These were two good albums. I remember listening to both of them. Okay. Well, I think we're going to give it to No More Tears. I'll wait a little bit if anybody wants to chime in, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to that. It's 12:30. I'm going to go ahead and call this one for No More Tears for the best guitar albums of the 90s, Zakk Wylde, for this first half. Steve says, I do like Zakk's solo. I do too. Was it Black Label Society? It's awesome. Jason says, congratulations on 200, Lee. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Thanks for the shout outs on the cast. Of course. Of course. Have a great rest of the day, all. Can't wait for the next 200. Yep. We're moving full steam ahead here. So I like to build this up too. This is fun. This is fun for me. We get too many people. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. We'll have to figure out a different way of doing this though. But we're going to go ahead and give that to Ozzy. And I'm going to hit it, grab some lunch, and let's see here. What's going on? I'll be Friday. For those of you who are coaching students on Friday, I may be doing those. I may be submitting those Saturday morning. My parents are coming into town on Friday. We'll be out and about doing stuff. So it may change between now, but I think I may have to push that to the next morning. But I'll send an email if that happens. You can still submit your videos that day. I just, instead of in the evening on Friday, I may post them Saturday morning. Okay. But thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone else. And thanks for those of you who have, Evan and David and thanks for people who've signed up for the VIP and your support. I really appreciate it. And we're going to do a lot with this stuff over the next 3 months. I'm going to be spending all of my time building all of this up. And I will see you all soon. Bye-bye, everybody.